Hey, AfterBuzz fans, tune in now for the How to Get Away with Murder after show. It's back. Tune in.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Let the buzz begin. It's been so long. We're back from the hiatus.
Finally!
Yes. Unfortunately, Omari is not with us anymore. He got a very cool job opportunity in Atlanta, so we wish him well. Hopefully he's listening. Everybody shout out to him. But we've got a new person on the panel, so we're definitely going to be bringing it this second half of the season. To start us off, April, where can people find you?
Hey everybody, I'm so happy to be back. I feel like it's been forever. Literally like 2 months.
I know.
I'm April Wissenhant. You can find me everywhere at April Wissenhant.
Hey guys, I'm Elena. You can follow me on all social platforms at hey_it's_slay.
Hey guys, I'm Sterling. You can find me at Sterling Cates.
Nice, and you guys can find me at Hey John Blake. Elena, welcome to the crew.
Yeah,
It's good to
I'm
have you.
like,
It's good to have you.
I'm like trying to contain myself because I'm so excited to just dig into this
Yay.
episode. I haven't had anyone to talk about the season with, like the people.
We got you.
Yeah.
We got
So
you.
here I am.
We got you. And now JB's
yeah.
outnumbered, so I love it.
I know, the debates are going to go very differently, I feel like.
When we were
Omari,
watching
where
the
are
show,
you, dude?
when we were watching
no
the show,
good.
JB was just like, he was laughing at our commentary. Like, he was just like,
Yeah. We'll see how this season goes.
It'll be
for the
good for you.
debates.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about the episode. It was pretty good. I mean, I was worried that we wouldn't see really any of Wes, given what happened. Spoiler, again. He died.
Who died? But it's like he almost didn't die because we saw so much of him
Yes,
this episode
exactly.
with all the flashbacks.
I was
and
very happy with all the flashbacks.
Yeah.
See, I assumed that's how it would be, though, just because we knew he was definitely signed on for the entire season, and that's how everything goes in
Yeah.
the show. It's like we find out what happens, and then we go back
Right.
to see how
I mean,
it
we
happens.
still see Sam all the time, so.
True.
well,
We
we
do.
don't see him anymore, but I'm actually tired of hearing his name. Like, I literally,
You're
just so
I'm,
over
I'm
Sam?
just so over Sam.
Just so season one.
Just
Sam.
I'm done with it. But I know I expected Wes to be back this whole season because we don't
Totally.
know what happened to him.
Well,
We
at
have-
least until we figure
Right.
out what does happen to him.
and then at that point, I think he needs to be reincarnated. But reincarnated. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but
Well, yeah, I mean, Wes was kind of the main character of the Keating Five. So to lose him, it feels very vacant, I feel like, without it.
Yeah.
Without
Well,
him.
Yeah, Connor was right. He's the reason for everything that they're in. He's the one that killed Sam. He's the
Right.
reason
but he
for-
also has that history with Annalise from his
Totally, yeah,
childhood.
yeah.
So
Exactly.
that's like
exactly.
He connects every storyline.
that's the part that hurts.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, and I think he made a good move. I mean, well, I don't know if murder's ever justified, but I think they were in so deep in the Sam situation that he was kind of the one that covered everybody.
right.
Because I think if he didn't go back and finish the job, so to speak, things may have escalated beyond their control. Like Sam would have, I don't know, like Jason Van Voorhees killed everybody later on.
You're probably right.
He definitely would have lost his mind because Sam just seems like that type of person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But enough Sam.
I'm not a
Yeah,
fan.
but
I,
enough
can't-
about
I,
Sam.
I,
Back
didn't
to
realize
Wes.
that I wasn't a big fan of Sam until like maybe a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
When they
Until just
when they brought up his name, I was just like I literally wrote like a stale face. I was like, meh. Like I'm over him.
Yeah.
Whenever they did the phone call, or when we discovered that Annalise called Sam's sister, I was like, what? It just seemed so random. But I guess I get it because it's, throwing another person in there, or it's like bringing back every single person who could have possibly had something against Annalise in order to make this happen.
Yeah, I almost forgot that she had, come into the picture. It was a cameo, I think, like Marisha Gay Hardner or something played her, I believe. Great episode back in that season. I think it was, 1-2 seasons
It was
ago?
a long
Yeah.
time ago, yeah.
Really, I forgot that character existed. And so for them to kind of bring back things full circle is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, that was my favorite part about the opening scene. It was Annalise watching Wes and Maggie play soccer, and I said out loud, I'm like, he looks so happy. We haven't seen Wes be, and of course this is a flashback, obviously,
Right.
but we haven't seen Wes be like, ha, since maybe ever, and it was like the happiest that I had seen him, but it was a flashback while he was He was playing soccer now, and then she kept going back to him playing soccer whenever he was little. And I'm
yeah.
just like, you've known him for this long, and now even if she's not responsible for his death, she kind of is in some ways, sure. So I'm like, this poor little boy.
The case in which she was introduced to Wes when he was a child, she was pregnant with her son at that time.
Yeah.
So then she lost her son because of like the Wes situation in his mom. So he almost became like her long lost son.
Right.
So to see him back, at the law school and things like that, I'm pretty sure it just pulled her heartstrings.
Yeah.
And now
Right.
he's dead. So it's just like my only other son is gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a really good point. The timing. I mean, she was expecting a child, and just as she loses that, Wes loses a mom. So it's sort of a perfect situation where they, are what each other is missing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that kind of built up their relationship.
Yeah.
But also just with all these flashbacks, and every character kind of has their own one-on-one time with Wes, we see sort of how he is kind of the glue that holds the whole group together. I mean, each scene was very revealing in that he told them like a pretty key piece of information. We learned that Michaela knew about the relationship with Laurel. Wes told Connor about the whole situation with Oliver and sort of gave him some light on that. And yeah, I mean,
And those are both relationships that aren't necessarily strong within the group. So they kind of confronted him
Exactly.
outside of the group, so no one else knew that they had those moments.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
seeing
the
the
West
flashbacks, we probably
consults.
wouldn't have seen those otherwise.
yeah.
And we finally had a good scene between Wes and Laurel. I'm like, you're gonna do this to us once he's dead? Like, actually, and they did have chemistry before sometimes, but like the scene in the bathtub, they really did. Like, they were like cute, and they're talking about potentially breaking the condom. One of the lines was a bit cheesy, but it was, it was like a good moment. And I'm like, now that he's finally dead, and I think we can go ahead and nail the coffin and say there were so many things
Oh, he's
at the-
definitely dead.
Well, you remember so many things
Yeah.
at the end of not last season, but before the winter finale of people being like, maybe he's not dead, maybe it's a fake. No, that you see him cut him open. He's definitely dead.
Well, Omari is in the chat. I just want to call that out. So, hey, Omari, we miss you.
What's up?
That's so funny.
He's having TGIT at home with a glass of red wine right now, so
Oh,
I'm
wow.
jealous. Yes, I stalked her Snapchat a little bit.
Going back to the bathtub scene, I just wanted to bring up that Pete Nowak tweeted that he made a joke about it and said, "This is why we need Planned Parenthood." I thought that was pretty funny. to
Yeah, that's
insert
Really
his
very
little-
relevant to
Yeah,
today's
pretty
times.
relevant.
Awkward though,
Yeah.
because we know Wes and Laurel so well from the past seasons. I felt like they should have just kept it how it was and don't let us into their bedroom life, because to see them floating around the bubbles talking about big penises and condoms, I was just like, not Wes. Like, Wes? No.
Well, he's just so awkward in general that like
so,
to hear him say a comment like that is just very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Well, he's just not, even like the sex scenes that he's had throughout the entire show, I've been like, oh, not in them. I think he's for sure an attractive man, absolutely. But it's just like, he's not the character that you expect to hear it from. And I told her, I was like, you can even tell that they were both like, as actors, like, this is an awkward line.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, can't even keep the laughs out as he's like, well, I'm too big. Okay.
Well, okay.
Fair enough. I feel like Wes is also kind of a quiet, cool. He's been, I feel like, with the most other people, like relationships, than anyone on the show.
He's a
had
player,
3.
I guess.
I forgot about
Yeah,
Rebecca.
because he had Rebecca,
Yeah,
then
see, Rebecca's so
Maggie,
far away
and,
now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Laurel.
and Laurel.
Wow.
I mean, he got a girl pregnant.
Wes
We'll
got
see.
Exactly.
around.
Right?
But yeah, that's interesting that he knew about the pregnancy. I mean, we all kind of found out about it as a surprise last, like in the before season.
Well, he didn't
half of the
necessarily
season.
know. They just talked about the condom breaking.
Right.
The possibility.
Yeah. And then she was like, this is probably TMI for a lot of people, but she was like, oh, no, it's fine. I just had my period like last week. So then the conversation
So it
moved
was
on.
almost that scare, I guess, that they had that conversation
Right.
about, which was still very awkward to me.
Yeah.
I think like the point of that scene is just to kind of put it in our minds as an audience that, oh, he is the father because they had
Exactly.
this
Right.
affair
Right.
or whatever, and she wasn't sleeping with Frank as well, and you know, whatever.
Which
so.
makes me believe that maybe it's not his after all. I know that she sort of publicly admits that it is Wes's.
Yeah.
But her very confronting scene with Frank made it seem like, she was being overly hurtful to him to kind of push him the other way or something.
Well, but at the very beginning, whenever Laurel or Bonnie comes to visit Laurel in the hospital, and she's like, I know you're tired, but did you see anything whatsoever? Because at this point, we all are thinking, and I'm sure we're still thinking, that he died before the fire, just like they told us at the end or in the winter finale. But she's like, it was Frank. And she just says it, and Bonnie's like, you know it was Frank? And clearly she's mad. She's like, he would do this to us. Or Bonnie says he wouldn't. She's like, yes, he would. He absolutely would. So I think the scene where she finally sees him is just because she's like, you did this because you found out that Wes and I were together, maybe. Obviously she didn't say that, but that's the reason why I think she would initially say Frank, because they were worried about Frank finding out about the two of them in the first place.
Right.
Right, but that's what I mean.
But
what
do you
if
think
what
that
if
Frank would burn down the house? Because
No.
that's what I'm saying.
I don't think Frank is
Wouldn't that be a motive for Frank to have done it though? If he found out that Laurel was carrying his kid and that she chose Wes, like,
Oh,
I feel like that
maybe.
would set off Frank
Yeah, maybe, but I
down
don't think.
a bad path.
I mean,
I'm not saying that's my prediction. I'm just saying
that's
that
a good
is like a
kind
motivation.
of complex of it. But I just feel like Laura was so obsessed with Wes that no matter how she felt about Frank, she wouldn't have doubled back on that situation. Because even when we thought that she was going to during the winter season, when he first came back and he first came to revisit, we thought that was going to happen. That would have been typical at that point. But when she pushed him away, I'm kind of on the team of Laurel and Wes that she wouldn't step out on him at that point.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you in terms of the timeline, but right when he did come back, Frank came back and spent the night at Laurel's house. We saw him like the next morning getting dressed.
We
so
don't know what happened.
Right.
Though.
So it could have happened then.
They
is what I'm
could.
saying.
Knowing Shonda and the team of writers, I wouldn't be surprised.
Or it could set up a good, very relevant storyline of abortion or no abortion. Just saying. That's actually kind of the main thing why I do think that they would go with it being Wes's, is just because, obviously the conversation was already brought up tonight. Like, whatever you do, I'm there for you. So it brings up that sort of thing. And we all know they're not afraid to go like super heavy on this show, obviously. So
I feel like Laurel would keep it just because Wes is dead.
Yeah.
And it's like his legacy, I guess, but also because she just admitted to Frank that she was in love with him and all this stuff. So
yeah, I think she would. I think she would end up keeping it too. But that's my
hard to
main
say.
fight for it being. I hope it's
mean,
Wes's
Very
at this
interesting,
point.
Let me just point out that while she was on the hospital bed, she asked Meg when she walked in, she was like, will these drugs harm the baby? So she's already started showing concern for
Interesting,
the
right.
Yeah,
child.
that's a good point.
So I didn't think that I don't even think that she thought twice about maybe getting an abortion because she's already caring for, the baby.
Right.
I didn't even think about it until Connor brought it up
I
in
didn't
that
either.
little meeting when he was like, "Oh, just get rid of it."
He's
First of all,
such
he
a
is
douche.
so annoying.
Yeah.
He
Was
for some reason
Connor
this-
annoying to you guys in the comments? Let us know because he was really annoying, guys.
Yeah,
Connor
well,
was
I mean-
like, kill it rough.
Give us a defense for him if someone's got one.
He was doing too much this episode.
Yeah.
I wasn't
I
a
mean, he
fan.
obviously is going through it.
People clearly handle grief in very different ways. He's handling it in probably the worst way you probably could, and just like being really defensive and standoffish from everything. But he does it in the wrong way because he's like, I don't even care.
Well, he was like that
whatever.
the whole first half of the season, though, not just
Yeah.
this
He was a little
episode,
bit.
so-
I mean, this was very aggressive douche mode for even Connor. So,
Absolutely.
luckily, he got his ass beat. So
But
He deserved
the role that
things balance out.
the role that he played tonight was the same role that he played when Sam was being murdered.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
the whining, the upset, so that's what it was. Just like it was repetitive. I was just like, shut up.
I love how we're all like, if we were in that situation, we would be like, so tough.
right.
But obviously, we
Right.
were
I mean,
not.
they're all. I mean, I feel like it's easier to say because we see everybody else's reaction that's in the same situation, and he's so clearly being like a wet blanket all the time. That I mean, again, I think it's a very tough situation, but seeing how everybody else is kind of struggling, but not being that negative, not like throwing shade on their friend. Like he just passed away, and to blame like him for.
But he's
like,
always said that. Think about it. He's always been like, Wes, why don't we just go and turn Wes in? He's the one who actually
Right.
killed him. And I kind of think he meant it a little bit when he's like, well, he's dead. It kind of like takes that away now because technically Wes is the one that killed
Exactly.
Sam, at least. I mean, obviously Asher's the one who killed the DA or whatever she was. But I don't know. I kind of think he means it. But obviously he's just being especially this way because of what just happened.
Yeah, well, now he's trying to get Oliver to turn and, well, go and tell his story that he cleared Annalise's phone and get immunity and all of that. But also when he said to Oliver that he doesn't feel anything, that even, I really believed him that he feels nothing. And that's probably the reason why he's acting the way he is.
Yeah.
Which is interesting,
I can
considering everything that's happening.
I understand the part of him not feeling anything, but I think the scene in the hospital room, that's when it OD'd. Like that's when it
Oh,
was
for
just
sure.
that's when it was just too much.
Right.
Have your douche moment and be the person that you've always been. But he's always had some kind of care for Laurel. Like it was like this love-hate friendship, but he's had some kind of care for her. So for him to have had that scene while she was going through it,
Right.
that was the problem that I had with that scene, you know?
Well, he said
Interesting.
he had that conversation with Oliver after
Right.
Asher beat him up.
Yeah. He was a little humble at that point.
Yeah, right?
He was bleeding
Yeah,
from
which is
many
good. I think that was
places.
so necessary to kind of put him in his place. I mean, I feel like he's always sort of looking down at Wes,
Yeah.
calling him weightless. Like he's the only character that does that. Even when they had a nice moment, the flashback, and Wes was really being nice to him, telling him stuff about Oliver, he was still disrespecting him, and I think that kind of all comes into how he's always felt about Wes.
I have a
Yeah.
confession.
What?
I know Connor has these weird nicknames for Wes, but when he called Wes Barbecue, and you guys know that I'm heartbroken about the fact that Wes is dead, but when he called Wes Barbecue, it kind of made me laugh, and I feel very
I snickered, but it was like the meanest he's ever said,
I
for
feel
sure.
so bad about it, but it was kind of like, I don't know why I'm about to cry about
Oh
it.
my God.
It was kind of funny. I was just like, no, but
People in the
Yeah,
in the
no,
chat
I-
are calling him Dead List.
Oh
Smoke
my
Chris
goodness.
Will. You guys are crazy.
I cannot.
You guys are
Smoke
crazy.
Chris Will.
Chris Will.
Oh wow.
It was pretty bad. I mean,
Yeah,
the
I think
autopsy
too
scene
soon.
with him was
Hashtag
like,
too soon.
whoa.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
The
situation.
autopsy was intense.
Very
Like they're like
intense.
doing his fingers. I'm sorry to use you as an example, like, and you just
And
hear
his-
it's
Oh,
like
it was
not
terrible.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I totally hear you. Before we get into the autopsy and more dead people barbecue list, another show that just actually came out today, Thursday, January 26th, from the network that brought you The Vampire Diaries and Gossip Girl, comes to CW's wickedly irresistible new series, Riverdale. Welcome to Riverdale, the small town with big secrets. The story begins with a new year at Riverdale High and the grisly discovery of the body of one of its brightest young stars. As the shock of an entire town sets in, suspicions and questions arise. Who killed Jason Blossom and why? What did everybody really do over the summer and with whom? A lot of intrigue over here.
Oh wow.
The series is based on characters from the beloved classic Archie comics. Did you guys ever read it? Which character are you? Are you a good girl like Betty or more of a
Probably.
Veronica? Probably. I feel like you're
Veronica.
Veronica. Doesn't even describe her. I don't know.
Are you a golden boy like Archie, or
Like
are
JD?
you? I feel like I'm more misunderstood, like the loner Jughead. Which character are you secretly crushing on? Get ready, because in this twist of a classic, there's a lot more to each character than meets the eye. In Riverdale, nothing and nobody are as they seem. Don't miss the thrilling premiere of the must-see new drama, Riverdale, Thursday, January 26th, only
That's
on the
tonight.
CW.
That's
It is
tonight, y'all.
like right now.
Things are going
happening
down.
right
TGIT is real on like multiple networks.
I am
yeah,
so afraid of
absolutely.
this show
Yeah.
because if it's anything like Pretty Little Liars, I may become addicted to
Right.
Riverdale.
Oh, yeah.
So
It sounds
Yeah.
like
Actually heard
Yeah,
it's
it's
really
it's like
good.
a combo of that and in our show, How to Get Away with Murder. So
Yeah.
much
Really.
deception and
Murder.
well, I'm
Yeah.
excited for it.
Yeah.
yeah, no, it looks
Sounds
cool.
good.
I've
I've actually heard it's really good. I have a friend that works on it, and he
Really?
said he's unbiasedly thinks it's amazing,
Nice.
Well, that makes
very
it
cool.
better.
but also biasedly.
I was about to say, but even though he works on it.
But back to the autopsy.
Yeah.
There,
More dead
Back to the
bodies.
more
autopsy.
dead. This brings me to the next point: the dead body. It's interesting. The doctors are so like flip floppy. I mean, there's always
Probably a
been
reason for that.
right. I mean, do you think it's straight up corruption, or do you
Yeah,
think they're just
absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
Alright.
I think the right person got to them before the people that we wanted to get to.
I think it's our girl Milana Jackson.
I do too.
Yeah.
You know-
Atwood just coming in hot.
I know.
I have an odd suspicion that Bonnie may have something to do with it.
I do too.
Bonnie,
Yeah.
She's on my list.
She just bothers me.
Yeah.
She does.
She always seems a little guilty, right? And in the fact that I don't know the way that she was maneuvering around this first episode, I just feel like her storyline, as far as what happened and with Annalise and Joe, is going to get deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's going to
enough.
be something that transpires that we're going to be like, it was you.
Okay, so
Interesting.
let's lay this out there. So Nate went
Throw
to
it out.
Annalise before when she was in the holding cell and
Right.
said that Wes had died before the fire.
Right.
Yes.
And that was like what was known at the time, and that's what the coroner said. And then now they're announcing the autopsy results, and they said it's what we initially thought. He died from the fire,
Right.
but it's not what they initially thought.
Well, I mean, maybe
So there-
that's
I
what.
feel like so obviously the DA side to me is covering
Yeah.
it up or covering up the initial murder.
Right.
I mean, they could have, like, the first thought you see someone in a burning house is probably that they died from the fire, obviously.
Right.
So that's, but we know that it's more intricate than that. We know that, okay, if they're telling Nate this, obviously Nate is directly connected to them because we see that meeting that he has with, I don't know the other guy's name, but with the DA
With the
and
DA
with
and Atwood.
Oh, with his fling, his side chick. She's not important.
no,
to
the
me.
man, the man.
Yeah, the other lawyer.
The other lawyer. Yeah, I don't know his name right now. But in the meeting with them, when they find out that Nate got this information and they asked about it, he's like, okay, well, you know, you're going to be demoted. And that's the scene where he tells them that they've been sleeping together. And he's like,
right.
any demotion would be sexual harassment. But anyway.
That was a page out of Annalise's playbook.
I was so
Yeah.
proud of
By the
him.
way. Yeah.
Finally,
He's
like
learning.
stepping up for himself.
After
Yeah.
all these seasons, he finally learned a thing or two.
And I'm like, you're not even a lawyer, you're a detective, but I appreciate it. But, I mean, clearly we know that all that happened, so they know that the autopsy was originally gonna show that he died. But I just think it's them messing around with it. It's just like they have all of this secret information that
Right.
Bonnie just can't seem to get her hands on.
Right. I mean, they're definitely covering something up. They went through all that trouble to make sure that they didn't have to release the witnesses and, you know, had that whole not Nate thing, the Wes immunity papers,
Yeah.
like, ready to go, pretty much. So that kind of brings us back to, did they set that up? They were obviously trying to get someone to rat on Annalise, like, before this even went down, like, before the fire even happened. So that's super suspect.
Because we know that they've been investigating her for a long time, though, for other
Right.
stuff before this even happened. So that's, I mean, it's just, it could be all a part of like a very huge setup, but then it's like, who has the means
Right.
to set her up that much?
Well, we know that Annalise called, was it Anna or Hannah?
I think
Sam's
Anna-
daughter.
Yeah, Sam's
It
sister.
sounded like,
sister.
Yeah, I
okay,
feel
it
like
sounded
her-
Hannah back in. but then
I
it sounded
heard
like
Anna and I heard Hannah.
I don't remember
In the
her
comments,
name.
is it
Yeah.
Anna or Hannah that Annalise called? Anyway, so she called her when she was drunk, and that's how I thought the fire started in the first place.
Right.
I
Yeah,
thought so
Yeah,
too.
she was,
Annalise.
she was like burning all of her fires, and she
And-
killed like a fifth of vodka
Yeah,
by
right.
herself. Just
And she
from the bottle.
She's a fish.
and Sam's sister has all the motive in the world to if she wanted the house and she
Absolutely.
wants Annalise gone, and she knows that she's behind Sam's
Exactly.
murder.
But why kill Wes? He
Well,
just
I
got
mean,
caught in the
Maybe because she knows
crossfire?
Well,
that
sort
Wes
of.
killed Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe.
and I think she
But
wants to
then
like
how?
put something.
Hannah.
She's
Hannah, thank
framing
you.
someone
Thank
for
you, Niles.
Annalise.
Yeah.
Because I think she's also resourceful enough to get like info on like the Mahonies and go
Yeah.
that deep.
Right.
You know what bothered me more so about this episode is we loved, the producers love to make us hate Annalise, right? To
Right.
put us in a
Right.
position to look at her as the bad guy.
Well, we still love her.
Well,
Yeah.
because she's
Done.
not. She's not the bad guy. Even if we look back to how we got into this situation, she was covering her students.
Yeah.
And granted, you would want a wife to be more sympathetic because someone just killed your husband, but they were having issues. He was cheating on her. You know,
Yeah.
whatever the case
She
may
has
be.
her reason
She
to
has her
say.
reason. So she's never been the bad guy, and I think that the way they try to make us pin against her, it bothers me. And we also know that Wes, as much as he fought back to Annalise for the things that she hid, we know that he walked away. We know that he called her and said, hey, the DA is trying to get me to do this and this and this.
Right.
And the reason he wrote the notes could be so he could walk out.
Right.
He probably knew that he needed a break.
Right.
Yeah.
And we know now that he got in the car with Frank and they did something.
Right.
We don't know what they discussed. We don't know if Frank killed him. We don't know how he got to the house from there.
Yes,
But we do know that piece of information.
exactly. And Frank is confessing right now.
And
Or it
he's
seems to.
confessing.
I think he's confessing only to get Annalise
Out.
out.
That he's taking the
So
fall.
that she could at least defend him for not doing it, because
Right.
she's the better attorney than Bonnie.
And if
True.
she's out, she can kind of lead her own case because,
Right.
you know, obviously we know she asked Bonnie to be the attorney, and Bonnie doesn't even believe in herself. She's like, you need someone better. What, you know, is
Bonnie,
offering
get
up
your
multiple
shit
options.
together.
But I'm like, you've been working with Annalise Keating for however many years. You don't think you can do this? I
Yeah.
get the pressure of it, but I mean, I think Frank is like, ooh, this is how
This
she
is the
forgives
moment,
me.
yeah.
I say I
Right.
did it. Someone will end up proving that I didn't. I don't think Frank did, but it'll let her out in order to save herself as well.
Right.
Did
I don't think Frank killed Wes at all.
Did it
Really?
not kill you guys how passive Bonnie was in the courtroom?
I think it's so Bonnie. It's so her to be like,
Do you think she's trying to do that, or she just is legitimately like weak?
well, she's on my list, so I don't
I
know.
don't think so. I think that she is just not Annalise. I mean, there's one Annalise, and they have to show the difference between like the top of the lawyer game.
But
and
we've saw Bonnie step it up a few times in the
she
courtroom.
has, but I mean, she's still not like the leader of the group. I mean, I don't think that she has any malicious intent towards Annalise. I don't think she framed her. It's so late in the game for her. Like, she has been with her for years. Like, if she was gonna do something, why not like 10 years ago?
Do you think that all of her confidence just went away because now Annalise is on the line? Like, I feel like we've seen her like on her game in
Right.
the courtroom. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And
Yeah.
this was like she was one of the students.
But she's
Right.
always had Annalise backing her up at the same time.
yeah,
though.
but she wasn't defending Annalise. That's the thing. It's like,
Exactly.
I feel like that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, the stakes are way higher. I mean, we've seen Annalise in jail, and I think that's taking a toll on her. Prison, not a good look for AK.
They did
at
a
all.
great job of making her look really, really
Yeah.
bad.
She looked like she got into some kind of jailhouse fight in the beginning. Like when
Right.
she
Yeah.
woke up from her dream, she had like bruised eyes. Yee.
It was not good, and she
But-
has an
Yeah.
interesting
That's why.
cellmate.
That's why she.
Very interesting. Trying not to use the restroom.
Which
Gotta
Pete
do it.
Nowak also tweeted that they can't play sounds of peeing on TV.
Oh, because
Really?
you know, I was kind of wondering,
Isn't that
is
interesting?
it number one or number two?
Yeah, I was
right now?
wondering too until she said what.
I was wondering that while I was watching him.
I
So I
didn't
went
know
to his
that.
Twitter and he
Yeah.
said they can't play bathroom sounds
Interesting.
Really?
on
Very
television.
interesting.
Well, let me
Murder,
just know-
no problem.
Murder, no problem.
Cutting people
Absolutely
open is fine.
not. Yeah.
Although Annalise is looking bruised up, I'm happy to report that Frank is getting cuter the
Yes,
rest of the
absolutely.
season.
We can all
because
agree with
we lost him
I mean,
for a
I'm
little
not
bit,
gonna-
but he's coming
Give
back.
me some, JP.
No, thank you.
This is always the part where Jamie and Omari are
Right,
silent.
you're right.
Pass on that. Omari, where are you?
I was about to say this. Every
Amari,
time Sterling and I
hello.
would bring this up, they're both like, again. But we can appreciate good-looking women.
Absolutely.
We can appreciate good-looking men.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway, I won't force you to say it. But interesting note about the poop sounds.
So what
Yes.
do you think about so Annalise's cellmates, there's one that's being really nice to her and like giving her sandwiches and that whole thing, and then there's obviously the more annoying one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I've never been in jail, so I don't really know how that works. But isn't it if you're nice to someone, that's like they're gonna try to like kill you or something?
Maybe. I mean, what if it's like a
feel like I've
setup?
seen
There's
that in a couple
definitely
movies.
sort of like a good cellmate, bad cellmate thing going on.
I kind
Yeah.
of thought for a little bit, like, what if somehow this is another part of, like, another cog in the
Right.
machine,
Yeah,
as far
it
as like,
probably
getting
is.
her in a room
to
with
admit
someone
something
who
for sure.
I don't
No,
know.
I think the nicer one may know her or recognize her from
That's
all
what
the
I think.
cases. I feel like she knows her in some way, and we never know. Annalise may have worked a case that somehow ties into this woman,
Right.
Yeah.
and she's waiting for the right time to bring up the hey, I know you from X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I would
Yeah.
love for their storylines to somehow be intertwined.
Me too.
Yeah. What if she was like a type of Annalise, like in her heyday, the older one?
Because
that would be
you
nice.
know what was great? So when we were watching it, it cut to the scene where she was staring directly at the camera and the producers tried to make it seem like she was talking to Annalise. I thought that was great, let me just
Yeah.
say. And she was saying, every time we climb up, they bring us down. So I feel like we are going to get more into her storyline. We don't even know her name yet.
Right.
But I feel like we are going to get deeper into her storyline, and it's going to be some kind of wisdom or some kind of strength that Annalise pulls from to get back on top.
Right.
Yeah. How long do you think Annalise is going to be in prison or in jail?
Potentially a long time. But I also think like this show technically is Viola Davis's show. I mean, we have a lot of other stars on it as well, but she's the star of the show.
She is the show.
And I mean, tonight we got very, very little of her because we, kind of couldn't get much of her. So it's like, how long can they keep her in prison? Probably not that long. But I think that's why they went ahead and why Frank admitted it, because if you have a confession, doesn't that kind of automatically take the other person out of prison?
While you guys were walking away, I was kind of still staring at the screen, and there's like this preview of, even though Frank, jumping ahead, so maybe this is my prediction, maybe I should hush up. No. So even though Frank is...
The whole show is predictions. for
Yeah.
us.
Even though Frank is confessing that he did it, it still kind of gave us a tease into next episode that Annalise isn't getting out of prison just because he confessed. So they're going to hold her
Right.
on something else, and they're going to try to keep her there as long as they can, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
Right. I think she might be transferred to like an even more intense prison facility,
Right.
which is way worse. I mean, hopefully not right away, because I still want to hear more from these two characters that she's sharing a cell with right now.
I don't think
Yeah,
they'll
they're
give it
very
up to us
mysterious.
that easy. I don't think it'll be like, oh, next episode after that, she's out of jail.
Right.
Because, I mean, it's a good storyline
Yeah,
to go off
they have
of.
to build it
I
up.
just know that I can't imagine them doing it for a very long time. I mean, it's not like we have a million episodes left or anything, so I don't know. I'm curious
Something's
to
going
see
to
how
have
it'll
to
go.
change, because even in the courtroom, like, her whole demeanor, and I know that she's going through a lot, but she's just very quiet. She didn't say anything. She's been telling Bonnie, I trust you, you can handle it. She's
Yeah.
like totally hands off.
Yeah, she's lost her mojo.
I
Yeah.
think, it kind of like means a lot to me that Wes dying is the thing that kind of made her that way. I don't think it's the house. Obviously, she doesn't care about the house, but it means a lot that his death is the thing that kind of just like takes her down.
Right.
And obviously, being in prison, jail, whatever it is she's in at this point, is going to do that to you as well. But
Exactly.
even just like you said, in the scenes where she's just like, I don't know, you got it. Like, typically, I'm like, run your own defense
That
right
was a good
now.
impression.
Like,
True. Yeah.
like
It's
tell
very,
her.
very unlike Annalise. I mean, do you think that it could be connected to her possibly having something to do with the murder?
I just don't think she
Or
does.
the
But
fire?
at this point, I actually think she might not remember because
She was probably blacked out.
Because she was blacked out. So maybe she does think right now, ooh, I caused the fire. I don't think she thinks she murdered Wes, but maybe she thinks, oh, if he died this way, I could have started the fire, because she knew exactly what she was doing
Right. Ooh,
by
interesting.
throwing everything in the fireplace. So maybe she does feel some sort of guilt.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's definitely doubt amongst the cast. Bonnie and Nate met about it and sort of had like a awkward moment in the car. Oliver, we see, still had the phone saved and like transferred it to a thumb drive.
I want to know
It's
what's
like, what
on
the hell
that
is he going to do with that?
phone. Really bad.
Yeah.
Just a side note in the chat. So the,
Ooh, hashtag free
the
Annalise,
person
definitely.
in the lady in the jail cell did recognize Annalise from a previous case. She was representing someone else, and she like wished she had her as a lawyer. I guess it happened in the beginning. Full disclosure, got stuck in traffic. Wasn't
It
here.
didn't happen at the beginning.
They
though.
said something about a red jacket. I saw you
How
in a
did
red
we
jacket. I
miss
think
that?
the person said that. I don't know. In the
Ooh,
comments,
attention
it's
to
in there. Thank you
details. I
guys.
like that.
Our
Good
TV
job.
glitched over like
Yeah, our
a
TV
few
was
parts, so we
glitching, so
actually
we-
could have missed that.
Maybe missed
We
it.
did have a couple
Okay,
of
well.
technical difficulties. Full disclosure.
Good to know.
And so one of the jail cell mates did recognize Annalise. I think it was the annoying one
Oh, okay.
out there.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
All right,
Putting
well,
that
good
out
to
there.
know.
Well,
Yeah, very
okay.
good now.
I'm happy
Okay.
that was
Yeah.
pointed out. Now I feel like I'm trying to reanalyze my thoughts here.
Yeah, with this new
We'll have
information.
to watch it again. We do watch it once with or
Yeah,
without
and
technical
literally
difficulties.
right before we came in here. So.
Okay. So
No, I'm very
What
curious.
else?
Well, let's talk about the Oliver situation.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that he is going to release that? I mean, he put it on a thumb drive for a reason.
right.
Probably to go to Connor first. I don't think he would go like full blown season, reveal everything without telling him.
Or maybe just to not have it on his computer, which someone could eventually get to.
True. Yeah, that
I mean,
is
maybe,
a little traceable.
I don't imagine Oliver going to the police, especially not at this point, because
Right.
I mean,
And he's not completely clean. Like, let it be known, he's
Yeah.
Right.
broken the law several times with this group. So.
and he's never going to turn Connor in.
Right.
I mean, the scene between them, which Oliver is still getting on my nerves, but the scene when he's talking about but you lied about the bonfire, right? And
He's a
he
baby.
basically confronts him about, but I get it. Obviously, I get. Okay, he knows if Connor says yes right now, or if, he actually tells him that it makes him privy to everything that they're a part of as well. But it's also like, don't get so far and then just be like, no, stop, because exactly. Without him saying it, exactly what happened.
Exactly. Yeah, it was so interesting that he pretty much got the like confession or like admittance that he was right and knew everything, but they stopped short of an actual admission.
Yeah.
So I think in a courtroom he would be able to say like, no, I've never.
Technically, sure, but I mean, like, he knows
Right.
that
He does know.
he knows
definitely got,
himself
like,
that
yeah.
Connor was a part of, or like what actually happened, which I just can't imagine him turning.
Oliver is very
in.
flip-floppy, so I
Right.
actually can't imagine him turning, only because one minute it's, oh my gosh, Connor, don't leave me, and the next minute it's just like, I need space, go away. And,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's what's more so annoying, because it's hard for me to really understand his personality or the traits that he possessed, because he's so back and forth.
Yeah.
Right, and
Right.
not just back and forth with Connor, but it's back and forth with wanting to be involved with Annalise.
Right.
It's like, oh, I want to know everything. I want to do all this like research and stuff, and then he's like, I just need space. I
She
don't
told
wanna-
me to
I don't
delete
want to
the
know.
phone.
It's
Right.
incriminating. Like it's.
But at first
together.
chance he gets, he tells everyone that or Connor at least, that he deleted the phone. I'm like, I'm sure she probably didn't want you to tell everybody that.
Right.
I mean, I'm glad that he did, obviously, because I really want to know what she wanted to be deleted. But I don't know.
But yeah, then it just further fueled like the douchiness of Connor, and then
Yeah.
got out of control.
I thought for sure at the end when someone was confessing, I thought it was going to be Oliver and not Frank.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything to. Well, I mean, I think clearing his conscience is one thing, but I don't think there's a clean way that they can get out. Like
Yeah.
Connor and even Oliver, they're so like their hands are so dirty already. I don't think even admitting everything or having the evidence, they're definitely not as smart as Wes to have worked out like an immunity thing that ironclad that he did.
Yeah.
So I don't know if
Can I say that I'm a little disappointed? I feel cheated, because I thought that at least this episode, when when Oliver found out that Connor was sleeping with Thomas, I thought it was going to be some big thing that
Right.
Oliver
We
was
all
going to
did,
Oliver
yeah.
was going to find out. He was going to play
Yeah, he
detective.
didn't even care.
It was just like, oh, by the way, and I'm just like, seriously, like that's
Yeah,
all
no,
we get.
that's-
Yeah.
yeah, Connor legit did the worst thing you could do to like your partner.
But he
Right.
told him in the most vulnerable way. Like, he's bleeding. He one of his best friends, not his best friend, but you know what I mean, just died, and then
Right.
he's like, I was sleeping with Thomas. It's like, okay, that was a little
Okay,
easy,
I'm going to
but-
send you to jail. Like, what do
Right.
you want him to do? I mean,
Exactly.
he can cry about it, of course, but he's not going to, like, that's not going to be the deciding
Right.
factor.
Well, I was
Right.
surprised because
turning him in.
yeah, but every other confrontation that they've had, Oliver quickly goes to like, I need to be alone.
Right.
And at that moment where I feel like it's the most suitable for that response, he was like, "Oh, you're bleeding."
Which is why
Yeah.
I was like, that's why I felt cheated. Like, Oliver, this is not how you usually react.
yeah,
Are you really
want to be alone,
right?
Dude. What-
You want to get
you're
mad
going
and
off
tell him
book.
to get out, but you're bleeding. That I wasn't expecting that one. At all.
Yeah, it's a story of their whole relationship just misreacting to their emotions and stuff.
I think they just have too much other stuff to go on, so the show's
do.
like, okay,
Pretty
let's just get that out the
dysfunctional.
way and go ahead and let them know, basically.
Yeah, no, they're a mess. They're
Yeah.
a complete mess.
They're too
but I
much.
mean, much like the rest of the cast.
Yeah.
I think
Pretty much like the
murdering
entire
someone, multiple
show.
people kind of
Asher
sets you
is
off.
such a teddy bear. Like,
Azur's a boss now.
in the
How did
beginning,
that
I
happen?
did not like him, but little by little, he's like just winning me over. And I don't know if it's because he's dating Michaela. I'm not sure, but
Has a
Yeah.
little bit to do with it.
Yeah.
but he's like he's even the real conversation that he had with Michaela. He was like, everyone's hiding their feelings and everyone's walking on like eggshells. Am I supposed to hide? Like, even
Right.
that. Him there. It was just like, okay, Asher, you're finally growing up and not being the kid in the room.
Right.
Yeah.
He does have a little bit of an anger problem. I
Yeah.
will say that, but
He's got
I
an
mean, Asher
edge. He's got an
has
edge.
always been my favorite for
Yeah.
his comedic relief and also his insight all of a
Right.
sudden.
He threw a few too many
The voice
punches.
of reason.
Yeah, I loved when he punched Connor the first time, but
Me
then
too.
when he like kept going,
I
that
was
a bit
okay
much.
with 2.
Yeah.
Like the first
Okay.
one wasn't
2,
enough.
3, but then you know.
At least one when he's on the ground, like a kick to the ribs. But then, eventually it gets to be like, okay, you're probably gonna like really mess up his face. But I did love the part at the very end when they made up and Michaela said he needed to apologize to Connor, and Connor's like, and just throws back the sheets. I'm like, oh, they're gonna cuddle.
Because he just invited himself into their little party. So now it's like this
Yeah.
whole
What else
big
can he do?
non-sexual threesome. It's just like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be awkward because I think Connor is still staying at Michaela's house now. That he
Yes.
had that whole thing with Oliver.
Because
So
he
Yeah.
doesn't have a place
Yeah.
to live, I don't think.
yeah,
I could be wrong on
Connor
that.
homeless and like angered both people whose couches
Why
he
didn't
crashes
I
on.
realize that Connor was homeless?
Yeah.
It's not funny. It's really not.
He has a laundry
Well,
list of
because
problems
Oliver
at this
needs
point.
his space.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, Oliver
There's
needs
that.
to be alone right now. that should be a hashtag. It's,
Oliver needs
The way
space.
that Connor responded to Asher punching him, or just the situation, either he was like, I said something stupid. Like he
He knew.
immediately
He knew.
recognized that he deserved those few punches.
Yeah.
And I think that was like, okay, I forgive you for crying the whole episode.
yeah.
He
Right.
did do, that was the most honorable thing, obviously, that he did the episode. So Connor has these crazy, insane douche moments, but then he does redeem himself.
He does.
A little bit. He did not completely redeem himself, but yes, a little.
Yeah, hopefully more to come. I mean, I think he was absolutely put in his place, which needed to happen. He's just one of those characters that keeps kind of pushing until someone like sets him back. And
Yeah.
in the past, Laurel I think was a character that was able to do that, and maybe why he has respect for her, and maybe why he didn't was kind of hurt by the relationship with her and Wes.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
But they need a person like Connor in the group. I mean, not everyone can be all gung ho with like killing
Right.
people and hiding it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Someone needs to have some sort of like inner battle with doing these
yes,
things.
morality.
At least to
A little
be
bit,
expressive
maybe.
about it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're also like desensitized. Just, what? Get over it. It was a
Break the
season ago.
body.
Come on. Well, I mean, look at Asher has come so far. Absolutely the most stable character right now. And I feel like he did the most heinous crime because he murdered someone
Cold
in
blood.
cold blood by himself. Like it was, more of a in the moment thing, but still it wasn't like the group where they kind of all were entwined in this situation.
And there was he killed Sam because they truthfully thought Sam was about to kill them, or
Right.
kill Rebecca at least.
And Asher
Fair.
wasn't even there with the whole Sam killing. He didn't know
Right.
about that.
Yeah.
So he
Asher's just
kinda-
a cold-blooded killer.
Yeah. Can I?
Yeah.
I want to argue a part of that statement though about Asher being the most stable. Maybe in the situation, but I think we often overlook Maggie
Right.
and the fact that she got dumped for no reason, and then had to find out that her ex-boyfriend died and got his friend pregnant. And she's
Yeah.
sitting there stitching up Connor and being there for Laurel.
Right.
And she has this, we don't, and Connor asks her, how is she doing? And she says she doesn't know. We haven't even gotten her side of it. We don't
Totally.
know what she's feeling, what she's going through. I could imagine the hurt. So I think that she's just really strong and stable.
Or she's behind it.
Exactly. That's what people in chat were just saying. I was like, it was like 4 people. King Bay
Whoa.
says Maggie is very
Cold-blooded.
sketchy. But
The
I
doctor.
did,
But she's also at work, so maybe she
Ultimate
can't
revenge.
like be breaking down crying. Or she's behind it.
yes, very possible. But I also
Or
don't
she
count
switched
Maggie.
the autopsy results.
Ooh, whoa.
She's got access.
Well, the coroner did say, "Oh, things change all the time."
No, they don't.
Yeah,
I don't
you
believe that.
lying, coroner.
Oh, that'd make
Yeah.
me happy.
Yeah.
The Meg probably. Oh,
Maggie
okay.
coming
But I
in.
don't count Maggie as part of like the people that I'm thinking are stable. I'm thinking like now the Keating 4, I guess. Well, even
Right.
though Oliver's
Well,
in it,
and
so it's still kind of fun.
That random guy's probably gonna come back. Their classmate, the annoying one.
Simon.
the
Oh,
one that did all the
Simon
Simon.
Drake.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't.
I know.
He
No, he
should have.
doesn't.
What's that?
Should we do prediction?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do predictions for
Your
next week.
AfterBuzz TV prediction.
Who killed Wes? I know who Omari thinks. Omari thinks it was
Amari.
suicide. He said
Really?
poetic. I saw him earlier. He was talking to King Bay. He goes, suicide, poetic justice.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, I don't know
I
about that.
disagree.
Yeah.
Bonnie's pretty up there. I don't know. There's always something about Bonnie that sketches me out. And Bonnie is the one who like straight up killed Rebecca because she's like, oh, stuff is about to be found out by this.
So
if
then-
Bonnie could have maybe found out that Wes was doing a deal, even though I don't think that was actually, I don't know, there's just something about her. I don't have a specific reason that I think she would do it, but, and I still think the Mahoneys, but they could just be too random at this point.
Where did Frank take Wes when he gets in the car?
Maybe
Like,
just to talk about Laurel. I don't know.
My quick prediction is just that Nate is going to switch sides. Right now, he seems against Annalise. I think that he's going to be Team Annalise as always.
I think so too.
Okay.
I agree with
prediction.
that.
Unless
I can get
he's the
down
one
on
that
that.
killed Wes.
Yeah.
Do you? I mean,
There's
he
also
hasn't
that.
killed anyone yet. Do you think he would start now? He's a cop.
Maybe. I mean, but we see how like angry he was, or we saw how angry he was, I should say.
I
at
feel like
Annalise.
this episode didn't help me with my predictions
Yeah.
or knowing anything more.
It's just the people who had like, you know, covered faces. I'm like, oh, you look guilty. You
Yeah.
obviously
Yeah,
guilty looking.
I mean, that's what
person.
the show does so well is make everybody a suspect.
I'm suspicious of maybe Michaela, Bonnie,
Whoa. You think it's
And-
within the group?
maybe JB,
I guess.
Hey, there's a lot of options.
or that Simon dude that we all hate.
Just
Yeah,
classic
that's very
Simon.
possible.
I do not think it was Bonnie. I don't think she has anything to gain from putting Annalise away. I mean,
Yeah.
she's not about to take the reins. I don't think she's that ambitious, really. So I don't think she would want her out of the picture. I feel like it's, I mean, to bring up Sam's family, I feel like there's just going to be a constant battle
yeah,
between
Hannah.
those two.
Or the Mahonies.
I guess
Well,
we'll
yeah,
have to
I feel
wait.
like Sam's sister got the Mahonies, and they're in cahoots, and it's all big.
There's a lot of
Shakedown.
cahoots
We'll
going
have
on.
to wait until the
We
next
will.
episode.
Yeah.
Until next week, where can the people find you guys?
Y'all can find me everywhere at April Wissenham.
And you can follow me on all social platforms at hey_it's_lay.
You can find me at Sterling Cates.
And you guys can find me at Hey John Blake. Tune in next week for more recaps.
We miss you, Amari.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.